Good day, good people. Hi, I am Dr. Joanne Frederick. I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm a university professor and author, and I am the host of your show today, Ask Dr. Joanne. Today, I want to talk about a project that I recently worked on with a group of other wonderful people, and we wrote a book called Copeology. It is an anthology. Let me show you that book right quick. This is it right here. But today I have one of the authors with us. Her name is Janice McKenzie. Bring her on with us and let's talk. Let's get a closer look at Miss Janice J. McKenzie.
Hi. Hi,
Hi.
Dr. Joanne.
Thank you for being with us live from, you're in New York right now,
I'm
right?
in Brooklyn, New York.
Brooklyn, my place of birth. Yes. And I appreciate you being here with us. We wanted to get a closer look at you and talk to you
Oh, man.
about your entry. Tell
Well,
us, who are you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I want to say first, thank you so much for having me on today. It is an absolute pleasure to work with you and your team. Everybody is just amazing. I wanted to say that first. And secondly, I wanted to thank you for even thinking of me to be a part of Copeology. I always have it right nearby somewhere. And even in this very moment that we are doing this, I am still coping with stuff, right? So I can talk about how putting pen to paper,
Mm.
I read my story a couple of times and I was saying, maybe it's a little frivolous but you better believe that as I was writing, I was pouring. I can remember one day, I think you sent me an email and you said, hey, how are you doing with the writing? Or you text me and you said, how are you doing with the writing? And I said, oh my God, I've been just so busy taking care of the residual, right? All of the things that happen after your parents have gone and left you, and you now have to be the one taking care of everything, right? You are now the senior partners that everybody looked at. And I said to you, oh my God, I'm gonna start writing tomorrow. I'm gonna get to it. And I actually did.
Yes.
And that tomorrow for me was filled with tears. I bent my head down and I was writing, and the tears were just hitting the paper, And I was like, oh my God, okay, pull yourself together. But for me, it was an actual relief.
Mm-hmm.
There are times when there are things that are in your mind. And in order to manage, in order to cope, you have
Yes.
to let them out.
Yes.
And the writing experience for me was just letting it out.
Definitely, definitely. And what you shared already is just a little snippet of what your piece was about. And I think it was about just dealing with loss of especially parents. And so these days, a lot of people are dealing with the
Oh
loss
my
of a
gosh.
parent or both. So we appreciate that story. And I have to encourage people to get the book and read yours. And it's going to be helpful to someone out there. But
Yeah.
who are you? Who are
Ah,
you?
so
Tell
who
us.
am I? So
Yes.
I'm Janice McKenzie. I'm not telling you how old I am, although you already know. I was born in England to two beautiful Guyanese parents. I have one sibling, and I have one beautiful daughter who's 12 years old. Um, but I was raised in England. Then I went to Brooklyn, where I remain now. All of my primary education happened here in Brooklyn, and then I went on to college at Morgan State University, best HBCU in the land. Um, and after that, I actually, due to a loss, came back to New York. So I was living in Baltimore, Maryland after college. I was working at, I believe, the American Red Cross, right?
Mhm.
And I got a phone call that my sister's husband passed away in a car accident. And I froze, of course, right? My sister at the time had two young children, a 3-year-old and a 8-year-old. And all I knew at that time was that my sister needed me.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I got up and I rushed back to Brooklyn, never to come back to Baltimore to live, right?
Mhm.
To come to Queens, New York, to be by my sister's side. Ending up, of course, you work, you pray, you laugh, you cry. Never came back to Baltimore. Currently, I am a director for organizational strategy and design for the MTA, Metropolitan Transportation Authority, for New York City.
Wow,
I
congrats.
thank you,
Very
thank you.
nice.
It's a very new position to me. Right after my father transitioned, I got the phone call to say, "Hey, you know, you've been chosen for this role." It is exciting. It's fulfilling. I have a master's in public administration
Wow.
and public affairs from Metropolitan College of New York. Um, I host a few shows for public access TV in New York. And just right now, I think I'm just being still. With everything that's happening, I
Yes.
am being still.
Definitely, definitely. So, you said a lot of things that I didn't even remember or knew about you, but you and I are not strangers, right? I happen to be interviewing a very close friend, and it's funny because the authors of the book does say Dr. Joanne Frederick and friends. We are
Yes.
truly friends.
Yes.
Talk about our relationship. How long we've
Oh
been
my
into the
gosh.
good things, not, the stuff that we don't tell nobody that. Okay.
So we met at Morgan State University.
Yes.
We both were psychology majors.
Yes.
We clicked somehow, somewhere along the way. We had many classes together. I think it was not just the Brooklyn connection, but it was a Caribbean connection
Yes, I remember.
that made us click. And we always laughed together and had so many jokes. And then we became roommates.
Yes, in the apartment.
Yes.
Yes,
So we
yes.
became roommates. It was a great experience. Through that friendship, I gained a godson,
Yes.
Jamali, your beautiful son. Um, and
Mm.
our friendship, although there were some years where I didn't hear from you, or whenever we met, whenever, if it was for 5 minutes, hey, where you gonna be? I'm gonna be here, let's see each other.
Yes,
We
yes.
always just reconnected, and it's a beautiful thing. You don't even know how I look at you, and it's so funny because you are the same Joanne. However, you are grand.
Hmm.
You're grand. And if nobody told you, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing to see a friend climbing that ladder, doing her thing, pulling you in with, it is such a beautiful thing. And I'm happy to have you as my friend.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, that's so nice to hear publicly. I really appreciate it. And as you said, climbing the ladder and bringing friends along, it reminded me about collaboration. And Copeology was definitely a collaborative project. What
Mhm.
was that collaboration like for you?
So for me, I think I am always open to meeting new people, to oh my, so graciously learning all of their stories. And you pulled me into a group of people who had so much um, going on in their lives. And when you look at them, they're beautiful people. That And when you read their stories in this book, you say, oh my gosh, how do they stand so tall after going through all that they've gone through? The fact that they were able to share that, right, is a beautiful thing. So I am so happy for that collaboration, because I believe that I've also gained new friends.
Yes, yes. And so as you say that, it reminds me of how the authors are in different places. You're in New York, some in Maryland, some in Virginia, some
Yeah.
in DC.
Yeah.
But we've had a chance to get together, right?
Yes.
And so that project was okay, everyone pen and paper in the privacy of their own home. But
Yeah.
Copeology is about techniques on coping,
Mm.
right? Like,
Mm.
how do we cope? Like, we need to give people more survival tools as we
Mm.
go through this pandemic. So
Yes.
everyone did it privately, but then we met, right? And had a couple of events, even
Yes.
virtually. And
Yes.
you're saying that for you, it was a rewarding experience. And also, these are people that you would stay connected with.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Definitely. Um, there is value in connecting, right? There's
Yes,
value in understanding that you're not alone,
yes,
you
definitely.
know, and for people to share their innermost feelings about things. And I can tell you, and I can share something with you.
Mhm.
We had a virtual party last night, and I couldn't even attend. And not because I wasn't available, but because I was coping,
Uh-huh. Yes.
and I
Yeah.
was coping with something, and it was even just hard to text, I can't make
Yes.
it. It was
Yes.
hard uh to say, hey, I'm going through something today that I can't be a part of a party, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
So
Well, one of the things I can tell you about that is, first, thanks for your transparency, but our
yeah,
connection as friends first, colleagues,
yeah,
I knew it. I told myself,
mm,
I know that you know this is going on.
yeah,
Something's going on. You need a
yeah,
break. Everybody
yeah,
needs a break. And so
yeah.
thank you so much for sharing. But I'll tell you, the virtual party, it was excellent. It was just an
Oh,
hour, and I was like, oh, nobody's going to show up. Well, people showed up.
beautiful.
And we played games and I read an excerpt from the book, right?
Mm,
I randomly picked two sentences out of
okay,
the book.
okay.
And when I did, I asked people to talk about how that
Mm,
resonates with you. Let me tell you, people talked about childhood traumas,
mm,
of molestation
wow.
and things with their husbands like, it really became a therapeutic coping moment. And it
Mm,
was to the point that we realized that we have to do this probably like once a month, because
wow.
the authors, so it's about 7 of us authors and there were 4 of us there. And
Mhm,
so we were able to make some things happen. So I'm glad that you took care of yourself first.
mhm, mhm,
Audience members out there, remember that sometimes we can't show up, but we have
mhm.
to take care of ourselves
Yes,
first.
yes,
And
yes,
as people, and definitely as Black people, we are resilient,
yes, yes,
right?
yes.
Talk to me about that word, resilient.
Oh
What
my
does that
gosh.
mean to you?
Listen,
Mhm.
for me, it means that you are pulling strings, you are pulling friendships, you are pulling solitude. Resilience to me really means that I can fall down a million times, but I know by the grace of God that I am going to get back up.
Yes, yes.
Um, you know, for me, my yesterday was dealing with somewhat of a betrayal.
Mhm.
And today I could say, you know what? That one hurt. That one
Mm.
hurt. However, I'm gonna be okay.
Mhm.
I'm gonna
Mhm.
be okay. Right.
Yeah.
So that resilience, it pulls the strength that you never knew that you had.
Mhm. Yes.
Mhm. And, and
And
and it pushes you and forges you forward.
mhm. And thus, when you talked about yesterday how you couldn't show up, but
Yes.
today you showed up, I
Yes.
hear resilience. That's what I see. And
Wow.
that's what you experience, it sounds like.
I'm hoping so.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah, but I'm sure,
Yes.
like life, things continue and we have to deal with it. And so
Yes.
it reminds me of dealing, with the death of my uncle that passed of COVID in
Mm.
Brooklyn last
Yes.
week.
Yes.
One of the things my motto became for myself in terms of self-care and the family is that Rome was not built in one day.
Mm.
Well, we're going to get through this, but every
Yes.
day is going to be a different thing we have to focus on and we have to pace ourselves.
Yes.
Right. So it reminds me of even earlier on in the pandemic, I was saying that this is a marathon. This is going to be a
Mm.
marathon
Mm.
where you got to pace yourself because we
Yes.
don't know how long we're running for, like what's going on.
Wow.
So talking about that as an author now, oh
Mm.
my goodness, Janice, you are an author. Okay.
Hello. Say it again. Yes, I
An
am.
author. Okay. As an author, you're thriving and surviving through a pandemic.
Yes.
What would you share with our viewers in terms of, I don't know, dealing with the pandemic, like how to cope? Like what can you
Ooh.
tell us?
It's really funny. I think back to what I wrote in the book, and I think back to my mom passing before the pandemic. And I think about how we were able to come together and say goodbye to her.
Mm,
Um, and then I think about all of the people who had to pass alone. I think about all of the people who were not able to grieve and mourn with their loved ones close by. There were Zoom funerals. How cold what is happening in our world has we have to survive through that. So I really my heart pains for people who are alone. My heart pains for people who through COVID are losing loved ones and not able to have the support of family and friends near them as they
mhm.
would normally have it.
Yes,
It's truly a different world.
definitely, definitely, yeah. And you're reminding us, and that all of this is current, right? It's
Yes.
ongoing, right?
Yes.
Definitely, things has changed.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
The other thing too, I wanted to bring up. So again, you're in New York, right?
Yeah.
New York City, right? And as a matter of fact, I think I heard some what's going on back
Sirens.
there. Okay, yeah, yeah. I didn't think it was my end. I think it was
No,
yours.
no.
Yeah.
You heard correctly.
So it reminded me of the busyness of New York. But
Yes.
New York, to me, I'm biased,
Yes.
is the world's capital to me. That being said, right? Tell us about some things that's going on politically, in New York, like what's happening and how that even relates to life today.
So I come from a world where I've always worked for city, well, not always, right? In my latter years, I've worked for city government. Um, I've worked for the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, which they are governed by the mayor of New York City. I worked at New York City Health and Hospitals Corporation, and they are tied in to the mayor's office. And currently, where I work at the MTA, we are quasi-governmental. So I work for both the state and the city. And as politics would have it, politics rules. Whatever is going on in Albany impacts us in Brooklyn, New York, impacts us in Queens. We have a new mayor, Mayor
Yes.
Eric Adams.
Mhm.
We are
A
happy
black
to see
male.
a Black
Mhm.
man, ex-police officer. We are happy to have him leading our city. And we're hoping that he will continue his very first day in office. He took, I don't know, maybe it was about 50 or 60 guns off of the street the very first day. He took some gang members off of the street. We hope that they get due process. But we need safer streets in New York City. We need it across our nation. We need leaders who are going to listen to its people. We need leaders who are going to say, hey, what's the best thing for COVID for this particular city? It can't be a cookie cutter across the nation because the city and its population, they're different in every city.
Yes.
So we need people who are going to listen to us, the taxpayers,
Mhm.
who are going to value us, people of color. And, politics is going to be politics, and we have to just have a voice. That's one of the things is that I try to make sure that I'm active in my community, know what's going on, and
Mhm.
make sure that my voice is heard for myself and my family.
Yes, yes. Thank you. That was really good. I love how
Mhm.
you touched on a lot, including,
Mhm.
new mayor. Um, so it seems to me like you also alluded to the increase in violence during
Mhm.
this pandemic
Mhm.
time frame.
Mhm.
I take it you all are seeing that. You're seeing that as well in
Yeah.
New York.
So we've seen the increase in in
Yes.
homelessness and mental illness, which was probably always there, right? However, it's been highlighted somehow during this time of COVID. Um, our city, every day you can hear of a story, someone being pushed on the train tracks by somebody who's mentally ill. You're hearing people just
Mhm.
random attacks. It's increasing. So when you hear people say, I'm running out of this city, I don't blame them. Yes, it's the Big Apple. It used to be the city that never sleeps. Now it does sleep. Things have cut off their cutoff times. Um, but we are seeing increase in violence, in uh, attacks from people who have diagnoses.
Yes, yes.
Mhm.
So this mental health crisis is
Yeah.
really real and it's across the board. It
Yes.
sounds like,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Plus, the value of the work that you do, and
Yes.
now even sharing your story to help others is really important. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, again, although I know you, I'm just listening to you and looking at you, and I'm like, you're so beautiful. And I want
Oh,
to
thank
hear more about your background because I'm sure viewers are like, wait, she said she was from London and Guyanese. Like, what is that? Talk a little bit more about the Guyanese parents. Where is
Okay.
that? What is that like growing up in
Oh
London?
my
Like, what, you're
God.
black. Like, tell us.
So I often meet people who say, "Why did you leave England to come here?" I was like, I was a baby. I had to go where my parents went.
Mhm.
But I was born in England, and I can imagine my dad left Guyana around the age of 16 and went on a boat from Guyana to England. Who knows how long that trip was, right?
Yes.
The British came to Guyana and recruited young men to be in the British military. So my dad left Guyana at 16 and went to England and was in the military. My mom left at around the age of 17 and a half, 18. She took a plane and she was recruited to go to England to become a nurse. So they met each other in England, and it's so funny, they had never known each other in Guyana, but
Mm.
they only lived about 3 miles away from each other in Guyana. They didn't know that about each other. And, it's so funny. My mom was always very hilarious. And I would say to her, how did you pick dad? Like you're in, first of all, it's a very small community of people of color. And she said, you know, I never really thought about that.
No, no, no. Say that again in her Guyanese London accent. Okay, let me
she,
hear that.
no, she said, I never really think of that. Um, I think he was the best of the worst, you know, but small pickings, but they fell in love. At the time of my mom's passing, they were married for 58 years.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
they went from, so when they had my sister, who is older than me. Okay.
Wait, why you gotta stress that? She's gonna be like, Janice, why you have to say it?
She
It's like,
kills me all the time. So they had my sister first, and my sister was very ill. And the doctor's advice to my parents is to send her to a warmer climate because
oh,
she was asthmatic, she was da, 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 da. And so they sent her to live with my dad's family in Guyana. And then when I was born, I lived in England for a little while, and then they were like, okay, let's send her with her sister. But I went with my mom's parents, my mom's side of the family in Guyana. So we were in two different households. I didn't know I had a sister probably until I was
oh,
about 5 years old or so, at least to my own recollection. And then after some years, then we came to Brooklyn. Um, Actually, my mom came to America first, and she went to Texas. My mom lived in San Antonio, Texas. She was a nurse there for some time, and she was like, I can't live here. I don't know what, it's just me, and I can't stay here. And so she left. My dad came to New York. He went to Harlem World. He was living somewhere off of 125th Street. And my mom came and met him there. And she's like, I'm not living here. This is rough. I'm coming from England to Harlem,
by
125th
plane,
Street.
by plane, right to
I can't do
Harlem.
this. And then they bought their first home in Canarsie, Brooklyn.
Okay.
And they lived there until both of their passing.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah, both of my parents, my mom was a firecracker. My dad was the consistent one. At my dad's funeral, I talked about, as a woman, one of the beautiful things that I saw growing up was I could look at my clock, and at any point in time I knew it's time. Dad's going to be coming home now, and he was coming home.
Wow.
And
Beautiful.
it's something that, as a child, you're looking for that father to come in, and he's coming in the door. And I talk about that goodness that the two of them had. My mom, the pastor called my mom a virtuous woman, a good woman,
Yeah.
strong,
Yes.
iron fist.
Yeah.
But her heart was always in the best place ever. And that's why I believe that everything that's happened to me thus far, before their demise, all because of my parents. After both of their passing, everything, it is some sort of a divine intervention.
Yes.
They are making sure that I am okay.
Yes.
And I believe.
Definitely. Love it. Love it. Okay, good. I love that story. In our 2 minutes that we have left, one of the things I could say about your story in Copeology, because similar to you, I've read it more than once.
Yeah.
Not only is it about grief and loss for our readers, but to me, it's also a love story. And it's part of what you just shared. That's what I got from it as well.
So true. It's so
I
true. I
am.
didn't even look at it. Like, it's so
Yeah,
true.
yeah. I'm
It's so
enticing
true.
people to read your story. It's excellent.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, in our minute or two left, what last thoughts would you like to share with our viewers?
You know what? Not so much about me, but about any opportunity that anybody has to let go. Any opportunity that anybody has to put pen to paper. For me, that's what did it for me, right? I say do it. Right? Being an author, you hear people today, being a creative means making a video, you dance in 2 minutes here, and you're viral, and that's it, right? But really being creative, digging deep into your soul and putting that out so that you share it with someone else, so that you can help someone else, I think is absolutely, absolutely vital for our survival.
Love it. Well said. Well said. On that note, I'm going to wrap up and I'm going to remind our viewers to check out the Ask Dr. Joanne show. There's other clips on there. Please like, share, and don't forget to subscribe so that you can get, information as it come out. We have other events. We will be interviewing all the other authors as well. We are having a virtual release party. And lately, we're doing a lot of writing articles on mental health, particularly for Black people. So one is coming out next week. It's coming out on the griot. And so stay posted for that. We'll keep the viewers in tune with that. And Janice J. McKenzie, I love you. We adore you. And
I
I thank
love
you
you
so much
too,
for
Dr.
being here
Joanne. I can't wait to see you in person.
in person, right?
Yes.
Good. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.